This is Elena Seungeun Lee from We Learn to Share. Welcome to the video of AP Environmental Science. In this video, we're going to go over hydrologic cycle. That's a water cycle. So hydrologic cycle is basically a water cycle, like I've just mentioned a few seconds ago. And basically, it's a process of which it collects, purifies, and distributes the Earth's fixed supply of water. And it's a global cycle because water is everywhere, right? Because there's a large reservoir of water in the atmosphere and hydrosphere. And water is very, very important for our lives, and not just only for our lives, but also for many other different species and living things, organisms in the world. So it's very critical to life on Earth, and the water cycle is powered by the energy from the sun, right? And it involves three major processes of which we're going to look one to one very, very specifically from our next slide. Evaporation, precipitation, and transpiration. Now let's look at evaporation. So evaporation is the process, right? It's incoming solar energy causing evaporation of water from oceans, lakes, rivers, and soils. And it changes the liquid water into water vapor in the atmosphere. This whole process is called evaporation. And the key thing to remember over here is that it's the solar energy that starts the evaporation. In other words, solar energy is powered. It causes the water cycle to start by evaporating, and it changes the liquid water into water vapor in the atmosphere. And then the major process is precipitation. And this is basically precipitation, like the weather, right? Weather, or you can think that as a weather because basically it's by the gravity that draws the water back to the Earth's surface from the atmosphere by the weather things like rain, snow, sleet, or dew. Right, and 84% of water vapor in the atmosphere comes from the oceans, which covers the 3/4 of the Earth's surface, and the rest from land. So you can remember that first is evaporation. So first, the liquid water changes to water vapor in the atmosphere, but there's the gravity that pulls the water vapor from the air to the ground again, back to the ground again, by rain, snow, sleet, and dew, and that's the process called precipitation. And then we have the transpiration, which happens over land. Above 90% of the water that reaches the atmosphere evaporates from the surfaces of plants through transpiration. So it's kind of a cycle of evaporation, right? Evaporating from the surfaces of plants, right, on the land. And then water returns to Earth's surface as precipitations by rains, dew, and etc. Driven by the gravity, pulled in by the gravity. And most precipitation falls on terrestrial ecosystem. That's called surface runoff, and it includes like stress, like lakes and these stuff, which will eventually carry back to the oceans the water, right? And then when it goes to the ocean, then it will evaporate into water vapor, and the whole cycle will repeat again. And some water that returns from the Earth's surface will convert it into ice that is stored in glaciers, that will be stored in the glaciers for a pretty long amount of time. And then some other water that returns to Earth's surface by precipitation will sink through soil and permeable rock formations to the underground layers of rock, sand, and gravel, which are also called aquifers, that will be stored as groundwater, so inside or under the land. And so the hydrologic cycle itself is a cycle of natural renewal of water quality in addition, right? So through it, it means that through the hydrologic cycle, many natural processes purify water. So there's the process of evaporation and precipitation, which itself is a natural distillation process. So it removes impurities or these kind of mixed things dissolved in water. So basically, it makes the water purify itself, or to get rid of the impurities, right? And also the water flowing above ground and below ground in aquifers, or the whole process itself naturally filters, right, the chemical and biological processes, right, by the decomposer bacteria. So you can say that the hydrologic cycle itself is really a natural renewal or a purifying process of water quality. However, there are basically some bad things, right, happening in this world, because there's an alteration of the hydrologic cycle, which should be powered by the solar energy and by the evaporation, precipitation, transpiration. All of these stuff should be done naturally, but it's kind of altered and kind of caused or altered or impacted by human activities. And there are three ways. First is by humans' withdrawal of large amount of fresh water at rates faster than nature can replace it, because we need to use fresh water for many, many things, for drinking it, for using it for some reasons, right? So basically humans excessively use or withdraw these fresh water than the natural rate that the nature can replenish it and this could basically alter the hydrologic cycle. And also the second way would be clearing vegetation from land for agriculture, mining, road building, like cutting of trees. This increases runoff, it reduces infiltration that would normally recharge groundwater supplies, and it will increase risk of flooding and accelerate soil erosion of landslides. And this could also alter weather patterns by reducing transpiration. And the third way of altering the things would be increased flooding when wetlands are drained, and it happens when we drain wetlands for farming, like cutting off trees and all of these stuff, etc. And this is the diagram where you can see how transpiration, how you can see that there are like lakes and reservoirs. The whole natural process is in blue box. So first we'll basically run off over here. There's the ocean. All water comes to ocean, and then it will basically be evaporated, right, from the ocean by the solar energy. And then there'll be condensed over here, evaporation, and then the precipitation will basically by the gravity will go back to the ocean, to the land, and then there's transpiration going on, runoff over here, infiltration, percolation, aquifers, and there's natural reservoirs over here. However, there are human impacts over here, which all causes and influences the whole hydrologic cycles. These are the references. So thank you for watching today's video, and I hope this video had helped you understand a bit more of environmental science, and you can refer to this diagram back to kind of understand the big picture of hydrologic cycles. And thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next video. Bye.